This is a demonstration on Land Image Analyst's Decision Tree Classifier. It's best if you've already watched the demonstration on the minimum distance classifier. Whereas the minimum distance classifier is best for single class classification, the decision tree classifier is used to create multiple class classifications, such as land cover. In this example, we'll be doing a land cover map of the historic district of Cape Charles, Virginia. Let's start by creating a new project. To do that, we go up to the upper left-hand corner in the menu bar and click Project, New Project. Since I've already been working in Land Image Analyst, it's given me a choice to save my project. We're just going to clear the current project and not save it. Here, for lack of any better imagination, I'm just going to name this Demo 2 Decision Tree Classifier, DTC. Next, as before with the minimum distance classifier, we need to add an image, which is going to set the projection properties for the rest of the project. And we're adding our NAIP image. Now it's important on this process, we're not going to use any default output data sets. So here, I'm going to turn that off and click OK. You have not created any data sets to start working with. That is correct, because we're going to create those in the next step. So simply click OK. So the first thing we need to do is create an output raster data set that our classification will go to. To do that, we click on More, Create New Data Set. This is going to be our raster. These default properties are okay. And let's put it here in Demo 2. And we can just call this Demo 2 underscore classification underscore DTC for decision tree classified, and save. Okay. And now we have our image and the destination raster data set that the classification will go to. Now let's add our training sites that I've created from other data using ArcGIS. You can just as well use QGIS or any other GIS software, but it must be in shapefile format in the same projection as your opening layer, and in this case that was our NAIP. So I'm going to say More, Add Data Set, go to Data, and add our land cover training sites. Now let's open up this shapefile and look at the properties. Just by double clicking, we can see the classes of those features. We can also set the view properties to color the features by their class. Click OK. Now to see that, I'll turn off the NAIP and you can see our training sites with their class colors. Now also, as before, with our minimum distance classifier, we want to have an area of interest polygon. So I'm going to click More, add that data set, and go to our area of interest. This can be called anything. I just called it area of interest. And here we have the watersheds that drain into the Historic District of Cape Charles. I'm sorry, the decision tree classifier. This will be the area of interest that is classified when we run the decision tree classifier. From here, let's open up our toolbox and just look at the decision tree classifier. Now we've set up our attribute table for the land cover training sites to have a field called class ID and class name. Here we'll look back inside the shape and you can see our class ID and class name. Here we can set the sample size that the decision tree classifier will use to sample the pixels that are underneath the training sites. We'll just use medium because if we use all points it would take too long. In this example, medium is enough. We're using the NAIP imagery and we're using all 4 bands, and we want to make sure that the output raster is set to the Demo 2 classification. Okay, now as before, we're going to turn off our area of interest polygon and then select the training sites that will be participating in the classification. Lesson learned. Our land cover training sites has to be selected, and we will select, and you see they turn white. Next, we need to go back to our decision tree classifier and simply click train. Now that the algorithm has been trained, we turn back on our area of interest polygon now we highlight it and click in the polygon, and you see now the image has been classified. Now, as before, we click classify. We can also select override existing classification if it's already been set. Now click away so that the selected polygon changes and you can see the color has changed. And I like to turn off the classification just to confirm that it has actually been written to my TIFF. Now we can use this in ArcGIS, or as demonstrated in the minimum distance classifier, compute feature statistics. So now in this demonstration, we've learned that we can load our own training sites that were created somewhere else and use them to classify our image. And just as was demonstrated in the minimum distance classifier demo, we can then compute our feature statistics.